often put it this way. In order for us to be in the state that we are in today as people, we have to be out of our minds. We literally have to be crazy. It is necessary for us to be crazy. It is necessary for us to be backwards. It is necessary for us to be maladjusted. It is necessary for us to be disunited. It is necessary for us to be self-hating. It is necessary for us to be filled with an inferiority complex. In a world where the European is essentially about 10% of the world's population, if that 10% is to continue to rule over the other 90%, it must keep that 90% out of its mind. It must keep that 90% in a state of deception. It must keep...
Thank you. I'm back. It's Ryan HRap B. Williams tapping in once again. This is the End of the Bench Media. This is a few minutes with HRap. You already know what I'm going to ask you to do. And what am I going to ask you to do? I'm going to ask you to tap in. Go to www.thaendofdabench.com. That's my website. You can watch this program now, get the same credit. It gives me traction on my website, helps me draw in revenue. It keeps this thing paid for. Thank you for doing that. And what else do I need you to do? I definitely need you to do this. I need you to hit that thumbs up, that thumbs up button, and subscribe if you haven't already done it. And then at that point, we continue to move forward. Share with your friends, share with your family members, comment, let me know where you're listening from. Do all the things, do all the things. Now, today, we're going to talk about pain. A lot of people will view this as me making excuses, but this is actual documented medical history. You can even look up Dr. George DeGruy. You can look up Dr. Michael Black. You can look up a million other people who will tell you everything that I'm saying is true. It is not my opinion. Well, it is stoked in my opinion, but my opinion was formed via factual medical information, as well as I'm gonna give you a small test. We give you a small test, a little homework, and we're gonna go through a procedure. You don't have to tell me because I will never know unless you put it in the comments what I'm asking you, but it's for your edification. It'll show you what I mean. It'll give you an example, and it will always be people that say, hey, well, I don't really, but what if? Well, you could keep the but what ifs, because if you're not coming to me with an actual conversation, I really don't want to have it in regards to this, because I know what I'm saying is factual, and you are coming up with synopsis attempting to support what you believe, and I'm not gonna deal with it. It's just I'm not saying that I got all the answers. What I am saying is I've done the research, and I'm sure, I'm 100% sure that what I'm going to say is stoked in fact, and that's just what it is. If that's not your truth, it's understandable. We don't have to agree with everything. What we have to do is respect each other. And as I do at the beginning of every show, I want to thank my parents, Dolores and John. Without Dolores, without John, there is no Brian. Without Brian, there is no program. So thank you again. Hit that like, hit that share, tap in, tell a friend, share it, tell a friend, and tell a friend to tap in. Now, here we go. Let's go. Let's talk about the pain. If you see that thumbnail, you see the pain. You see the pain of slavery and the pain of incarceration. If you have never noticed, it's the exact same pain. I am trapped into a place where I was potentially put into a situation where I didn't have any control over it. Now, how did I end up in these situations? Now, a 20th century mentality or 21st century mentality tells you, well, the reason you are this way is because of you. Now, if you want to give some fake accountability lecture and say, hey, so you're accountable for your actions and blah, 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 blah. But guess what? You're only accountable for your actions when you are fully aware of what you're doing. If you've been duped or someone didn't tell the entire truth, you're not accountable for a lie. You're not accountable for deception. You're not accountable for half of the story. If you want me to be accountable, you need to say, hey, when you got in first grade, you were messing up. Your parents got on your back and you never straightened up. And now here you are. But then you need to understand what in your genealogy makes you act that way, because everyone does not learn at the same pace. When it comes to communication, effective communication is being able to speak someone's language. And I don't mean English or French or German or anything of that nature. You need to be able to tap into how I communicate. If you start speaking to me with big flowery words and I have a 8th grade education, or I was not the most astute person in the world, I'm tapping out, I'm not paying attention. But if you can reach me on the level that I am on, you can effectively communicate with me. And if you can effectively communicate with me, then we can have a conversation. If we can have a conversation, we can get things resolved. If we get things resolved, then we start to heal. That's the thing. It seems that in our community, we're quick to point the finger and say what you should be doing because we're grading you by the talented 10, as W.E.B. Du Bois used to call the educated people, the people who excel academically, and the people who are supposed to be the leaders of the community. You cannot gauge me in accordance to the A student or the honor student. What you need to do is gauge me right at C, C plus B. The reason I say that, because that's the average human being in the world. He gets C's and B's because it could be for a myriad of things. It could be because I'm not excelling and this is not this educated. It's not tapping into me. It could be I don't understand what's going on. It could be I'm just purely not interested, so I'm not engaged. If I'm not engaged, I'm not doing my best. If I'm not doing my best, then I get B's and C's. It could be a myriad of things. But what I do know is this. We have been BS'd and lied to about who and what we are and how we got here. Who and what we are and how we got here. Oh, well, you know, one of the greatest tropes of what Africans sold other Africans. You've heard me say this on this program before. Wrong, wrong. Yes, were people on the continent giving other people who look just like them to white men so they can ship them over here. Indeed, they did. But because you're African in Nigeria, if you're Africa and Africa, if you're on the continent of Africa and you're from Ghana or Nigeria or Niger or Sierra Leone or Botswana, you do not see yourself the same. And if you doubt what I'm saying, well, they are Africans. Well, guess what? They are Europeans. Ask a Greek dude who looks like an Italian dude, who looks similar to an Italian dude, if he's Italian, he'll tell you, hell no. You ask a Japanese person if he's Chinese. For us who are not part of that culture and not part of that part of the world, well, they look alike, but they're not the same. So why is it that an African from one country or at that point a tribe would affiliate himself with someone from another tribe? He's not that. The Ashanti tribe, they warred with they are some of the greatest warriors in North Africa. They are the northern part of Africa, Zulu nation. The Zulus were Shaka Zulu. He's one of the Zulus, great warring tribe from the southern part of the continent. Ashantis are from Ghana and Nigeria, and they are one of the greatest warring tribes at the north part. They had war with a Artsy tribe, and guess what they did? They dominated them, and they did not beat them. They beat them into submission. What they did was and influence them to create a tapestry. That tapestry interwove the Ashanti colors and their colors. We call that kente cloth. That's how they did it. You want to talk about slavery in Africa? If I had you as a slave, you were my slave, not your wife, not your children, not your parents. It wasn't a generational situation. And guess what? After 7 years, I was no longer enslaved. Chattel slavery is something that is totally new to the entire world. The Western Hemisphere introduced chattel slavery as we know it today to reducing people from Africa or people who were here on the North American continent, aka Turtle Island. Please look it up, Turtle Island. Turtle Island, that's what they called the United States before it was colonized. And they had a bunch of people who looked like you and I. It was a guy by the name of John Horse. He was one of the Black Seminoles, and he fought off President Andrew Jackson for years. That's why when you gave brothers and sisters who were enslaved, who were captured and enslaved, weapons in that Civil War, guess what? They had already been warring. They had already known how to fight, and that's how they were able to win and emancipate themselves. Not because these white men taught them how to fight and then no. You ever notice that they never tell you how fast? Look, 6 months after we get guns, we end the war. You ever wonder why that was? Also, they just put everybody through boot camp, and 6 months later, they're the greatest warriors in the world. No, that's not the case. This is why I focus so hard on history. And because if you know history, then you'll realize history. When you realize history, your vision becomes wider. When your vision becomes broad, you can't be duped anymore because you'll do the research and you'll understand what you're dealing with. You're dealing with a deceptive community that is attempting to suffocate you, who's already attempted to subjugate you and beat you down to nothing, so you won't think about these things. That's why they got you chasing money. That's why they have you chasing things. That's why you have you chasing that status, because you're attempting to make a reflection of a black man or a woman and look in the mirror and see a white man. No, it'll never happen. It'll never. You can be as light as you want, but you'll be black. You can be as dark as you want, and you'll be black. And every color in between. We need to pay attention to what's going on. And what's going on is we're suffering. There is a gulping wound in the black community in the United States of America and worldwide. You have to be injured spiritually, mentally, and some of us are even hurt physically due to enslavement, oppression, segregation, denigration, and physical domination. You have to be hurt in order to. The number one selling product in Africa and South America is bleaching cream, because you've been duped into believing you're wrong. And oh, well, that's not me. Please, if you're watching this, I need you to listen, not just hear the words. God made it so you can hear. Listening is a choice. Don't listen to this so you can respond to what I'm saying. Listen to all the pieces of the puzzle, hear it, even go back and watch it again before you even respond to me, because once you do that, then you will have a true understanding of what I'm attempting to convey. And then we can do what I always say: identify the problem, address the problem, see what the problems are, and come up with a solution. We don't need to say these kids messed up, the community. We know we have issues with our children, some of our children and their erratic behavior. We know we have issues with some of the people in our community. We know that. But by and large, hey, if you could come from the worst environment in the world, but you know more people that get up and go to work every day, because guess what? Some of y'all at work right now hating and can't wait till 5 o'clock. You sick of work right now, but you at work. Some of us are at home in the bed and gonna watch this later because you're getting up and you have to go to work tonight. Some of you walking in the door at the job right now. So I want you to understand, by and large, meaning more times than not, you run into a hardworking, stress-filled black person who's dealing with the ills of the United States of America on a regular basis, and this is what you're dealing with. So don't fall for the trope of, hey man, black people, we don't know how to get along. Well, yeah, who do you have? Who cook your corner store stuff? Who you play cards with? Who music do you listen to? Why is it that Beyonce is the queen of black music, but we don't support each other? How did Tyler Perry become a billionaire if we don't support? Why is Eddie Murphy one of the biggest stars in America if we don't support? Understand, everybody's following us, but we believe it's time to follow them, and that's not the case. Now, how do we get here? Again, it is an open wound, spiritually, psychologically, and again, sometimes it's physical in the black community. If you don't believe that, then this is what I want you to understand. You are still suffering from slavery. Oh, no, I'm not. That was a long time ago. Really? This country will be 249 years old in 4 more months. 249 years. Guess what? 160 years ago, they emancipated people, and that's when the wound really started. Now, we were fighting at the rate of 100,000 people a year escaping from these death camps, and we're not going to use that flowery, pretty word called plantation. They were running down to Florida. They were running up to Canada. Now, explain this to me. If we wasn't here already, again, I'm going to debunk lies as I tell you what the problems are, and I'm going to give you the healing. I'm going to, like our grandmamas used to do. As you look at these cuts and these whelps on our arms, chest, backs, and in our head, I'm going to put some salve on it. As I tell you, well, there go another rip. There go another cut. There another bullet hole. Because guess what? Until she put that salve on it, it's going to take a long time to heal. You're going to put wraps on it. You're going to put medication on it, and it's going to get your body stronger. And as your body heals, your mental heals, your spirit heals, and then we're going to be where we need to be because we've already been there. Back to the point. How is it that people like our sister Harriet Tubman and hundreds of other people knew how to read the stars and navigate through North America? Because we had been here and we dominated the terrain. You don't know that though, because you never thought about it, because you've been taught that Black American history started 1619 when 4 black people got off the boat and was enslaved. Wrong. We were already here 10,000 years before they were here. 10,000, not 1,000, not 1,500, not the world started 5,000 years ago, 10,000 years ago. California is named after a black woman. California, the Folsom people are black people. Where you got prisons throughout the Southwest and the western part of the country. When you go to Colorado, you see remnants of pyramids in the state of Colorado. It has been rumored that the Grand Canyon is actually a decayed pyramid. That's why you don't get a chance to walk through the entire Grand Canyon, where it's dangerous back there. How is it dangerous back there, but we got people in space, allegedly? How's it dangerous back there? We can get people to go down and look at the Titanic, but we can't see something on the actual Earth. Think about it, people. Now, back to the wounds. The enslavement period, 339 years of enslavement. 339. 339. I want you to hear it. Hear it and say it. 339 years of pain. Now, you've heard me say this before. When your great-grandmother got off that boat, or she was here and captured, either way, when your great-grandmother got here and was enslaved, she has your great-grandmother in her, she had your grandmother inside, and all those eggs are inside of her body. And all that pain and trauma that she experienced, like I always tell y'all, you are a sum total of everybody in your family. Whether they bank robbers or they presidents, you are a sum total of all those people. So guess what? That pain is in there too. And I'm gonna show, and later on, I'm gonna show you how to get around that pain. But you were dealing with that pain. She dealt with the pain. Your grandmother dealt with her pain and her pain, and your great-grandmama and your great-grandmama, then the person who gave birth to you and your parents. And your mother, she dealt with all of their pain. That's why she's an angry black man. You know why she angry? You know why she angry? Because people used to come and steal her children. People used to kill her man. People used to rape her. And she dealt with 8 generations of that. And you don't think a black woman need to be angry? Because guess what? When you look in our history, black women used to dominate that continent and beat the hell out of the European people who attempted to colonize her country and her village. So she got hundreds of years of anger built in her because of the way her and her family been treated. Understand, your grandfather throughout the years is nothing but a security guard. Your grandmother ran the family. Your mother ran your house. Even if you had a father that your mother ran the house. What you say to your mama? Think about it. Mother's Day, just get your mama something. Tell your mama she look nice. Go do this for your mama. Go do that for your mama. Go this for your sister. The women control the community, whether you want to admit it. I mean, we the men and we're in control and God made. Okay, cool. But guess what? How did that story in the first story in the Bible go all right? Because Adam listened to his woman. He broke the rules. I'm not blaming anybody. I'm blaming Adam actually. But Adam broke the rules because the woman is in control. It is a situation to whereas if the woman is happy, you know, that happy wife, happy life thing, that's real. But not in the way that this westernized world sees it. How many of y'all grandmother had jobs? But you ain't never went over your grandfather's house. You go over your grandmother's house. You don't go to your parents' house. You go to your mother's house. But back to the point. Yeah. And guess what? Your grandfather was waiting on, and that's why older men, they sit back and they wait for problems to arise so they can fix them. We have gotten away from that mentality. What we've done is adapted to our oppressors. We've adapted a psychology called rugged individualism. That's the problem. That's the problem. So we're back to the enslavement portion of the conversation. Our people were enslaved and the problem started. This is the wound. I'm going to give you the wound. The root cause of the problem, the wound, the actual cut on your arm, the whip on your back. The wound started after the enslavement because there was no Ku Klux Klan before enslavement ended. There was no dark nights before slavery ended. There were none of those instances before enslavement ended. So what we have to do is understand after 339 years of oppression, denigration, and disrespect, what we're dealing with now is the result of those. Now, you have a government and citizens attacking you because they can no longer subjugate you. So why is it that the Ku Klux Klan is a hate group? The Dark Knights, the Proud Boys, and all those people, the Oath Keepers, they are hate groups. But the Black Panther Party of Self-Defense, listen to the name of the organization. The Black Panther Party of Self-Defense is identified by the Federal Bureau of Investigation as a hate group, as a terrorist organization, not the Ku Klux Klan. So now you're dealing with that. Now you've been freed. Now you have a problem. Now you are dealing with things that you don't know that you're dealing with them because you are under attack. So they used to just rape you and your woman, kidnap your children and sell them off and rape your daughters. You got that trauma inside you. So now you're emancipated. And once you have become emancipated, now they create groups to destroy you. And then you get out of the 1800s. You go to the 1900s and they create laws saying you can only live in this area, which that crabs in the barrel mentality. We treat each other bad. We like crabs in the barrel. They built the damn barrel and put you in it. Crabs in the ocean don't attack each other. They just walk around and do what crabs do. But if you put them in the barrel, they go into survival mode. Understand what you've dealt with. You got laws created to further enslave you. And then you got laws created to put you in a specific area. And then they use this psychological technique called Pavlov's dog. Pavlov's dog is when you train somebody to, if you step out the box that I put you in, you will be killed. So you're still dealing with that trauma from enslavement. And then after enslavement, you were under attack by the government. And then these white people are further attacking you and hurting you further. But you're not dealing with that because that's a long time ago. No, it wasn't a long time ago because my mother would have been 79 years old this year. And guess what? That was in the early 1900s. So she was 10 years off being born. And I got aunts. I got an aunt in April who will be 80 years old. So she saw these things. So that trauma is in her. And you're passing it down to your children. You ever wonder why when you're at the store, your mother tells you, stay right here. Everybody's saying, oh, well, that's just good discipline. No, it's not. You're restricting your children. You're restricting them. And they looking around and seeing these white kids run around and be a child, running free, experiencing new things. Because just every time you see something new as a child, you processing brand new things. But if you can't process those brand new things, you start to wonder, what's wrong with me? And your mother, while she's loving you and she's keeping you close, she's not articulating to you that she's keeping you safe. Because if you steer too far away, you're going to get killed. But you don't know that. You ever notice how you've heard two mothers, one black, one white, they having conversations about their children. The white woman, the black woman tells the white woman, hey, Timmy, he doing good, man. He's a sharp young man. Oh, thank you. Timmy's feeling good because he heard his mother say, oh, we're proud of him. He's going to do great things. And what do our women say? And it's no fault to the women. Oh, no. Well, Brian, you should see him when you get home. He a handful. Brian hearing that. Well, why my mother don't love me like Timmy must love him? There must be something wrong with me. So now I'm lashing out. But I'm lashing out because you don't love me. You think I'm a problem. And if you told me I'm a problem and I heard that I'm a problem, I'm going to respond like a problem. But these are the things that we dealing with, because if our child step out of line just a little bit, somebody might Emmett Till him and lie on him. Oh, wow. A lady lied on a young black man. She wrote in a book 50 years later, I was lying. 60 years later, I was lying. And they killed her. So you think Emmett Till is the only one? And they propagate that story throughout the United States of America so we can hear it. So now I'm in Chicago, I'm in Milwaukee, I'm in Detroit, I'm in Cincinnati and Cleveland, I'm in New York, I'm Philadelphia, and I see that Emmett Till story. And you know what black people saying? I ain't taking my kids down there because I don't want them to be hurt. But you cheating your children out of grandchildren, you're cheating your children out of lineage, you're cheating your children out of a whole lot of things. Further widening the wound. You're not putting stitches on it yet, but you think you are, because I have to protect my child. Because if I'm not looking at him, he might be in danger. And if he in danger, I might have to die. And if I die, then there ain't gonna be nobody to protect him. And that's the trauma that that's that generational trauma that we continue to pass down to our children. And then we subconsciously do these things. And like you go to the hood. Now, it's a hood. Oh, we did away with we did away with segregation, remember? Oh man, it ain't segregation. Ain't no more segregation, HRap. We be cool. No, it is segregation because it's a hood in every city. Ain't no, hey, when you drive through 290 or you drive to 94 in Chicago, you get off at 35th Street on South, that's the hood. You got what we call the low end, Inglewood, the 9, or if you're in K-Town, L-Town, the Holy City, this is the hood. There's no exit for the hood, but everybody know how to get there. And you know how to go. Oh man, why do they live like this? Because of Pavlov's dog. They train people to do what they want to do. Because when you see people get murdered when they leave their neighborhood, what do they tell you? You better stay in your neighborhood because you're gonna be safe over here. But they don't lynch us like they used to. Remember? See, back in the day, it was 1,800 people a year getting lynched. Really? They were 1,800 a year getting lynched. How many people police kill on a regular basis in America? We saw some people. In the last 15 years, we saw Eric Garner get lynched on TV. They choked him out. We saw Sandra Bland get lynched on TV. They choked her. We saw Breonna Taylor get lynched. We saw Trayvon Martin get lynched. We saw Philando Castillo get lynched. We saw the brother in Oklahoma with his hands up get shot and killed. He got lynched. And we saw the brother up in Minnesota get lynched. And that had a traumatic effect on you. Why do you think it's easy to rise up and go crazy? Because you got all this anger built up in you. I'm going to show you how they continue to denigrate you with the video this week, today. This is the historic video. Y'all know I'm not going to show it in its entirety, but I am going to show it more than I traditionally show because I want you to understand the psychological effect that it's having on you. And we're going to continue to talk about it, and then I'm going to start transitioning into how to fix these things. This is the video. I do it every day. I'm not going to keep doing it. And I want you to watch it. I'll be back shortly. Listen to this. I'll be right back.
In England and Scotland. Into the modern era, many cultures adopted family names for administrative purposes. Initially, during the European expansion in the 1600s, the Napoleonic Code would require people to have both a given name and a family name that would remain unchanged across generations. Notable adoptions include the Netherlands, Japan, and Turkey, who would all formalize surname usage. Yet names could also change to protect privacy or to escape persecution. For instance, European Jews anglicized their names in the United States to avoid prosecution, and conversely, governments can force name changes, as was done by Nazi Germany or in Bulgaria in the 1980s. Yet, story of surnames is an important part of the human cultural identity and shows a shared history, a shared heritage, and lineage. However, the narrative for African Americans is distinct, mostly due to historical injustices stemming from displacement and enslavement. Before European colonization, African societies exhibited diverse naming traditions rooted in cultural, societal, and spiritual beliefs that varied across the continent. Unlike Western fixed surnames, many societies use surnames to convey lineage, historical narratives, or societal identity. For instance, the Asante people of Ghana use patronyms, clan names, or titles to denote social status or ancestral origins. The Yoruba people of Nigeria chose a children's name based on spiritual beliefs, birth order, or significant events at the time of their birth. Similarly, the Akan people of Ghana would employ surnames using prefixes and suffixes to indicate both parental and maternal ancestry. Yet, during the transatlantic slave trade, the forced displacement of millions of Africans had to endure brutal conditions, family separation, violence, and denial of basic human rights to satisfy economic demands for a plantation-based economy. Yet one of the first and most lasting dehumanizing acts was the imposition of European names on enslaved individuals, severing them from their ancestral heritage. So, upon arrival in the New World, enslaved Africans faced immediate erasure of their cultural identity, beginning with the stripping of their original names. European colonizers replaced these names with new ones like Fernando, Juan, or Maria, aiming to sever their connection from their homeland. Enslaved individuals are often assigned Anglo European first names.
And they did those things. I'm back. They did those things for a reason, because they wanted to add more trauma. They wanted to push that into you and separate you from reality. When you separate someone from reality, you have what is called, what we call now, a nervous breakdown, an anxiety attack, and things of that nature, because now you don't know where you are. You're around nothing but strangers, and now you're being beaten to submission, and you pass that down. Yeah, no, but that was a long time ago. That has nothing to do with me. I was never a slave. But guess what? Let's just use something simple. If your grandparents use profanity, your parents probably gonna use profanity. If they use profanity, you might use profanity. And you think you're just using profanity because that's what you do and that's part of the culture. But why do you use it? Because that's how you were raised. If your parents and grandparents, if you had these things wrong with you, these things are passed down generationally. You don't see them as trauma, but they are. Now, profanity ain't trauma, but subjugating your child, reducing your child, that's trauma, because you're not telling them, hey, I'm only doing this because I don't want anybody to come get you because you think you're protecting them. But we're not having these conversations with our young people. And if we had conversations like this with our young people, they would understand. And then that would heal, but we're not. And then you learn other negative attributes about yourself. You learn, oh man, you can't trust us. Well, don't take them over there. Black people ain't gonna do you right. Well, what? Because I had a poor interaction with black people. Did you? Or you say silly things like, I've had more good experience with white people than I had with black people. Because you've had 4,000 experiences with black people and you've had 7 experiences with white people. But if you take yourself out of your egg and look at don't think about your individual self, think about your communal self. Think of you as part of a picture. If you distort one of the pieces of the picture, you distort the entire picture. So you got hundreds of years of oppression, denigration, and disrespect, and then you got a few people that were good to you. It doesn't work that way. This is the trauma that I'm talking about. These are the things that I want you to understand. When people register you as less than human, that has an effect on you, whether you want to admit it or not. Well, it was a long time ago, but in 2016, 2016, 9 years ago, they did a study. 222 medical students, people who are preparing to be physicians, they still believed that black people took on more pain physically, that we didn't register pain like they did. These people who are in medical school, some of us may meet some of those people and they may be our physician. They thought we didn't register pain like they did. So if you smack me right here, they go, oh God, that hurt. And we'll go, no, I'm black. You know why? Because they see us as animals. They see us as animals, or they register us as animals. And when you register something as an animal, that gives you the cognitive dissonance to make them an animal. Then you won't have any conflict. Oh no, see, because I got a moral code and I don't have any racist bones in my body. So I would never do that to another person. But if you see me as less than, you do what you want to do to me. You'll treat me the way you want to treat me. And then you will pass it down, and you pass it down, and you pass it down, and you pass it down. A lot of people may not agree. Oh, you have to be responsible for yourself. Really? Well, if you don't have to, you need to address what the problem is, understand where the problem started, and then start the healing process. You just don't start healing because guess what? I'm just going to not get high anymore. Why did you get high in the first place? That don't matter. Because then when that thing happens again, you're going to get high again. You're going to drink again. You're going to become violent again. Why are you so violent? Because I know violence. Why are you getting high? Because that's what comforts me. So you revert back to things. That's why when you're an addict, you go back to those meters on a regular basis until you understand what you're dealing with, and then you move forward. Now, you got messed up parents. Parents, they are the root cause of this because it was embedded into them spiritually, mentally, psychologically, and genetically. These are facts. These are facts. Just like if your parents are alcoholics and you imbibe, guess what? You may trigger something inside your DNA that would do that. But see, this is what we're going to do. We're not going to use that as a crutch anymore. We're going to identify the problem. The problem is we have never identified that there's a war going on outside. We've never identified that. We've never identified that it's the reason that our schools are less than. Oh man, see, it's our fault. How is it your fault that the United States federal government, who's supposed to treat everybody equal, we're the people in order to form a more perfect union, establish justice to secure domestic tranquility? That means everybody gets treated the same. These are their laws, not mine. These are their rules. They signed laws in 1965. Guess what? Everybody get treated. It's illegal to discriminate. We got what we want, but we gave up what we had. We got what we wanted, which is you can't refuse me at a hospital. You can't treat me bad and these kind of things, but we gave up what we had, our individualism, the ability to build from nothing. Just because, again, that's why I said at the beginning of the program, we cannot judge by W.B. Du Bois, Carter G. Woodson, Dr. King. They were exceptions to the rule. We need to go by the regular people. And everybody does not have the intestinal fortitude to overcome those things as those men did. They were blessed. They were touched by God. And they were put in front of us so they can help us understand that we're not the worst people in the world. We're not lazy. We're not shiftless. Why would we even listen to the people who we know have established themselves as our enemy? Because they put us in chains. They beat us into indentured servitude. They took our names. They took our food. They took everything from us. And you saying, you're going to look at the TV and they're going to highlight everything we did wrong. Guess what? That's not the truth. For example, this the test. Remember, I told you at the beginning of the program, I'm going to give you a test. Most of us have driven on a dark road where you're going from Indiana to Illinois, central Illinois, Illinois to Iowa, Illinois to Minnesota, which the road is dark and you just driving to where you're going because you're trying to get where you're going, right? You're driving down this dark road. Close your eyes if necessary. I want you to use your imagination. You're driving down this dark road in the middle of the night, trying to get where you're going. You come up on 3 police cars, lights flashing. They got the tape out there, and it's a citizen's car in the middle. And you're just looking at it. As you drive up, you're looking over. Just close your eyes. I want you to imagine this. It's a civilian car, 3 police officers. Now, there are 4 civilians with their hands tucked behind their back, on their knees. You look over at those civilians, and you keep driving. What I want you to do, this is the test. And if you think you're not suffering from white nationalism, white supremacy, and you become a student or you've become a victim of white supremacy, tell me what color those men were with their hands behind their back with the t-shirt off on the ground. If you said they were black, you suffer from white nationalism, because I never said what color those young men were, but you've been taught black people are the criminals of the world. If you're on the side of the road with your handcuffed on your knees, those some brothers. Why would they be black? White people commit crimes. White people smoke crystal meth. White people use heroin. White people smoke crack. White people sell drugs. White people walk around with their shirt off. White people get arrested. But you were taught that that was some 3 brothers. Most of us will say that was 3 black men on the ground. And if you did that, then guess what? That's part of the problem. I thought you wasn't suffering from nothing. But without me saying they were black, a lot of us said those were 3 black men now. You saw 3 black men on the ground. That's what I'm talking about. It has been embedded in us. That was a long time ago. If it was a long time ago, why did you see 3 black men? Because the world shows us on TV. When you say drive-by shooting, you think the dudes, the Crips, the Bloods, depending on what part of the country you're in, the Crips, the Bloods, the GDs, the Vice Lords, or the Latin Kings, the MS-13s, that's what you think. But you don't think your favorite movie, The Godfather. Al Capone, them, they weren't shooting at black folks, they were shooting at each other. You see the Jewish mafia stories. They're not shooting at black people, they shooting at each other. The Irish mob, like Miller's Crossing, they was killing other white people. But when you say drive-by shooting, you think Crips, Bloods, and some form of Latino gangs. Now, what's the biggest gangs in America? You might think Crips, Bloods, depending on where you live, Crips, Bloods, GDs, Vice Lords, MS-13, Latin Kings, right? No. The biggest organized crime organizations are the Russian Mafia and the Chinese Mafia. Criminal justice major speaking to you. That's who transporting heroin. That's who, that black top heroin, that's doing the most human trafficking. That's who doing it. But you don't know, how many times have you seen an Asian person or a Chinese person on TV getting arrested for a crime? And they got the biggest criminal organization in the world. How many times have you seen Russian people on TV doing a crime, committing crimes? Hey, how many of y'all know what Bernie Madoff looked like? But I bet you a lot of people, if you're familiar with popular culture, you know what Tukey Williams looked like. You know what Monster Cody looked like in LA. Those two of the dudes. Why do I know who Monster Cody and Tukey Williams are? And I ain't never been hung out in South Central Los Angeles. I don't know nothing about. I'm not a Crip. But we've heard those names because they continue to embed a criminality mentality. Hey man, when you hear about, why do you think they say, okay, watch this, all that violence in Chicago? How many of y'all thought of a white guy doing any of those crimes? But guess what? It's white gangs here in Chicago killing people. It is. It is. It has been discovered that it's guys, white guys ride around with black masks killing people. It's been documented. But when you think it was 18 people shot, you immediately think black people. Why do you think people like Donald Trump say stuff like the crime in Chicago? Don't nobody be thinking about no white people when those crimes, because y'all think about us, and we've been programmed to do that. But like I said at the top of the show, you identify the problem, you address the problem, reprogram it, and then you come up with the solution. More the problem. America is built on slave labor. It's the only country in the world that was built on slave labor, enslavement labor, because we're not slaves. We're not descendants of slaves. We were prisoners of war and captured Africans forced into indentured servitude into perpetuity, but the laws changed and we got up out of that situation. That's what we are. That's what we are. Now, what I want you to understand is this. Understand this. Instead of thinking about people who are enslaved, instead of looking at the worst of, the reason I'm a drug addict is because my mother was a drug addict, my mother was a prostitute, my father was a criminal, he was a gangbang and drug dealer, and blah, blah, blah. But my favorite one is, the reason I sell drugs, I got to feed my family. So in order to feed your family, you willing to kill mine? No. We got to get from that mentality, because that's why they got you chasing money. I mean, I'm a capitalist. I love people like Stephen A. Smith. I'm a capitalist. If he had any idea what a capitalist was, he would never say that. This shows pure, unadulterated, raw, uncut ignorance. Capitalism is why they were able to enslave people, because I'm just making money. I'm not doing anything. I'm just making money. See, when you're willing to kill my family so yours can eat, that means you have a mental disorder. So what capitalism is, you're capitalizing on other entities so you can eat, destroying that entity if necessary. No. What we're going to do is take our fractured community and the things that are fractured in our community and use those things to build the greatest community in the history of the world. How can you do that? My mother was a prostitute. My father was a drug dealer. I'm messed up. I got abused. I got sexually assaulted and things of that nature. Those are some of the triggers that make us do poor and erroneous things. We make poor decisions due to that. But guess what? What we can do is this. Identify, like my mother used to be on drugs, but now she clean, but I was messed up because of it. Mm-mm, mm-mm. What if I told you were better than both your parents? Even that hurt young man, hurt young woman, hurt old man, hurt old woman. What if I told you were better than both your parents? Because, okay, your father was a pimp and a drug dealer. Your mother was a prostitute. Both of them changed, they turned their lives around, and now they're upstanding citizens. Hey, man, I can't stand my father. He's the worst. Man, look at what he did to my mother. Or you could say, how many people survived what my mother's been through? My mother was sexually assaulted, sexually abused. She was coerced into selling her body for profit. She turned to drugs, and that's how she coped with it. And now she owns her own store, and my mother's 100,000 there, and she owns 3 buildings, and she's bounced back. But I'm still hurt because I'm focused. You know why you still hurt? Because you're focusing on what happened to your mother. But what happened to your mother is also inside of you. But you know what else is inside of you? The intestinal fortitude it took your mother to come up out of that. So you know what? Whoa. Look how strong my mother is. She was 16 years old, and her life was trash. By the time she was 30, she had turned her life around, and now she is hood rich. Look how strong that person is. And that's in me. So that's half of me. My father was a leech. He was a parasite, man. A pimp is a parasite, and all you do is hurt people to get paid. Like you said, HRap, why I gotta kill somebody else so my family can eat? And that's what my father did. But you know what else he is? He is an untrained CEO at the time. My father owns 3 grocery stores now. He used that money. He had money left over, and he was addicted to drugs too. He came up out of that drug thing, and he used all that information that he got to read people, identify people. So now he can interview people and hire people. He went to college too. He can interview people and hire them. He can identify strengths and weaknesses. So he knows how to communicate with people. He's a natural leader. That's inside of me too. So I had this person with an undying will to live, and nothing can stop me. That's my mother. I have this genius level, intelligent person who can identify everything in the world, right or wrong with a person, know how to communicate with them and tap into their spirit so he can either uplift or tear them down, but he's going to use his powers for good now. And that's into me too. So you put those 2 people together, you get HRap. That didn't happen to me. My parents were actually pretty dope, but you get HRap. HRap is a superhero now because, yeah, my parents went through a lot, but I'm not going to focus on what they went through. I'm going to focus on what they lived through, what they are now, and that thing is inside of me. So while I am hurt, but I'm going to go get some therapy. I'm going to talk to my parents, and I'm going to get everything that they got to help them turn them around, and I'm going to forgive my parents. And I'm not forgiving my parents because I want them to be happy. I'm forgiving my parents for me because as long as I'm angry, as long as I'm hurt, I drag that stuff along with me. So I'm going to let it go. And I'm going to focus on the better things about my parents. Because guess what? We all have done something that we're not proud of. And that's what our parents did early. Oh, man, you whooped me, Dad, and I'm hurt. But didn't I provide for you? Yeah. Well, didn't I come to all your sporting events? Yeah. Did I yell at you? Yeah. Did I make you feel bad? Yeah. Well, I apologize, son. But when you came out of your mother's womb, it wasn't a book attached to your back. This is how to be a good dad. So I was doing the best I knew. So you're going to forgive your father, and he's going to forgive you. You're going to have conversation. You're going to be a better human being for that. And you're going to do the same thing with your mother, whatever issue you have with your mother, but you're going to let that go for you. You're not going to let that go so they can be better because they've already been better. Because you know what? They've made peace. And guess what? Oh, man, how are we going to do this? It's easy to do it because we're going to start communicating with each other. We are communal people. That's why when we harken back to the good old days, we think about, hey, man, the lady down the street used to be able to whoop you, man. You know why? Because Miss Jackson knew your mama. She knew your mama when she was doing bad. She proud of your mama because she doing good. That girl used to be rough, but look at her now. That used to be the community we lived in. Remember that, I don't know about y'all, but in Chicago, when you were 16-year-old, got pregnant, you went down and lived with your grandmama's sister, and you came back with your auntie baby. But it was really your baby because they were trying to save your name, keep you intact. And then you had to always stand in the house and watch your auntie baby. Man, why Sheila always gotta watch her auntie baby? That's messed up. Because really that's Sheila baby. And then Sheila went on to graduate from college, and we never knew that was actually Sheila's baby. And I'm not saying we need to go back to that, but what we're gonna do is protect Sheila. The reason you sent her down there because you protected her reputation, you protected her self-esteem, because you didn't want people pointing that finger at her. So guess what? Instead of saying what's wrong with HRap, we're gonna say, HRap, you could be better than that. Instead of saying, boy, sit your stupid behind down. Hey man, you are better than that. Look at your grandfather. Look at what he overcame. My grandfather didn't know how to write. I have census reports where my grandfather would X and in perfect penmanship it says George Williams. My grandfather didn't know how to write at that time in his life, but he knew how to write before he died. So look at what's inside of me on his own since age 9, and he helped raise my father and paid and took care of my grandmama till the day he died. Awesome, man. My grandmother went through abuse before she met my grandfather. Her mother was abused, and guess what? My grandmother was the pillar of our family. Look at that's the greatness that's inside of me. My grandmother, Lois, same way. She didn't go through no abuse, but she was the leader of her family. She was the second oldest, but she was the leader of her family. My grandfather, Richard, was a trooper, man. This man could fix cars. He was funny. He worked for the railroad. And until the day he died, he took care of my grandmother. Those things are inside of me. My mother, teenage parent, went on to be a high-ranking officer in the Department of Child Support Enforcement here in Illinois. My father had all that trauma through his mother and his father. He was a frogman in the Navy, was a tool of that guy, and was a member of the Black Panther Party, self-defense, that died in the street of Chicago, doing the kind of thing that I'm doing right now. So guess what? My mother did not give up. I don't give up. You can't tell me nothing. My father was standing up for the people. He gave his life for it. And that's what I'm doing right now here. I want us to start looking at the greatest parts of us. Our kids are not messed up. We dropped the ball. We need to go start talking to our children. And don't wait till they're 18 years old, try to talk to them one time. Oh, he ain't listening, I'm done. These kids stupid. No, actually, that makes you stupid. Because the first time guess what? Your parents told you not to have sex when you were a teenager. Most of us had teenage sex. Your parents told you not to drink. A lot of us drank. I don't know nobody, well, I do know one person, who parents gave them weed, and a lot of us smoke weed. So if we weren't listening, what makes you think a child is going to listen who you've ignored, denigrated, disrespected, and disregarded? We're not going to do that anymore. We're going to start talking to our young people. How about this? Reinstitute this. When you see somebody don't be scared to speak. Don't speak because you're scared. Hey, what's up, young blood? Hey, what's up, old school? That's what they call me, old school. It's a young brother that's going to text me when this program is over. He's going to say, old school, that was a good one. He do it all the time. And guess what? Because I walked past him one day, he was smelling like a box of weed because he was selling weed. I told him, hey, yo, young blood, I'm not going to tell you to not sell that weed. What I am going to do is tell you this. Go get you a Pringles can. Throw out the chips. Give away the chips. Put your weed in that Pringles can. Put that Pringles can in your backpack. The smell going to stay in that Pringles can. And when the police ride past, they're not going to lock you up for selling weed. I gave him his phone number. He been listening to my program ever since. I'm old school to him. Talked to a young man with his pants hanging off his butt. I said, young blood, I'm part of the hip hop community too. I started this thing. I was a break dancer. I was a DJ. I used to write on the walls. Why you got your pants hanging out like that? He said, old school, for real? I paid $300 for this belt and I'm trying to show it off. We laughed. I said, my man. I said, but how about this? Pull your pants up and tuck your shirt in your pants and then show it off that way. He laughed and that was it. Because I talk to the young people, not at the young people. I'm not expecting everybody I interact with to change it. Okay, I'm going to be a soldier. No. But if I say something to him and you say something to him and he say something to him, maybe he may start thinking, hey, man, they actually care. They actually give a damn. And he might start doing things that uplift him and his community. A lot of these young people, they just don't have the attention that they needed. They didn't get the attention they needed. Because guess what? You didn't yell at them when they were little boys. And then talk to them and say, hey, man, I yelled at you. I ain't going to tell your mama. Like the dudes did with you. You did something wrong. Somebody knew your mama, your dad, your uncles, your aunts, grandparents. I ain't going to tell on you, but don't do that no more. We got to get back to that. Kids are not messed up. Kids are like computers. You're like the camera that you're watching me on. If I connect this camera to my laptop and my mixer, the camera is not going to work properly. The volume, if my microphone not connected, the volume is not going to work. You're not going to hear me. It don't do me no good to keep that microphone in the box, keep the camera in the box, and then just sit here and go, hey, I'm doing something, because now don't nobody see me. And that's what a child is. You must connect them to the right things. You must give them the right information, pour the right type of software into them, and then you're going to flourish. Some of them ain't going to make it, man. Hey, I know people who's on my football team that are dead because they said they're going to be drug dealers. One dude, God rest his soul, Kevin Brooks, wanted to be a gangster the whole time we were at Westinghouse Vocational High School. Kevin Brooks was playing around with a gun and killed himself. God rest his soul. Good brother, too, but he wanted to be a gangster. So no matter how much love you get, no much how many times you pour the right thing into some people, they're going to do the wrong thing. But by and large, like I said at the beginning of the show, more of us do right than do wrong. We do support each other. We do care about each other. Because if we didn't, I wouldn't have as many subscribers as I have. I wouldn't have had 22,000 views last month. And I was doing one a week, one a day back then. So I just want us to understand. Stop looking at the TV and finding out who you are. You know who you are. Talk to your friends. Talk to your parents. And you know what, parents? Let's start talking to our kids about our flaws. I talk to my kids about my flaws. Boy, I used to cut school. I cut school so much. Westinghouse Vocational High School. People at Westinghouse love me, and people at Lincoln Park love me because they think I went there. That's how much I cut. And I told my children that. So I talking to your kids and show them that you have more in common than you have separate. Have a temper like you would not believe. My daughter got the same temper. She get it like I told her. I got a jacked up temper. You got a jacked up temper. Grandma had a jacked up temper. Me and you never met her, but from what I understand, Granddaddy had a jacked up temper. Grandma Madia had a jacked up temper. Grandma Lois had a jacked up temper. You got a jacked up temper, but we can talk about it. And we can realize what's going on. Or we can walk. I could talk to you and do you just like my mother, grandma did me. One day I was sitting on the porch, mad as all hell. What's wrong with you? My kid's mom pissed me off. Oh, okay. And right before she walked in the door, she was taking her coat off. It was dead of winter. It was freezing cold. I'm sitting on the porch with no coat on, looking like a darn fool. But you know what my mother said? Wait a minute. What's she doing right now? She's like, I don't know. I bet she ain't mad, and walked in the house. Then I realized how stupid I was sitting there mad while somebody else enjoying their lives. We got to start talking to our children about our flaws. But more than our flaws, talk about our children, about our pain, our anguish, so they can see that stuff coming. And then we're going to tell them how great they are and what they're good at. With that being said, I want to thank everybody for tapping in. I knew this show was going to be longer than it normally is. We usually do a half hour to 20 minutes. But I had a lot on my mind. I need you to share this. It is important that you share this. Because if we are to do better, we have to get better. And if we're going to get better, we got to say that we're sick. And in order to heal from the sickness, you get just like anything else. The rhinovirus starts the common cold. How do you get rid of the rhinovirus? You start disinfecting and spraying. And when you start disinfecting and spraying, you clean the areas. Then you change your bed clothes. Then you spray down your doorknobs. And then you spray down your light switches. And then you spray down your bedroom, and now you go get rest. How do you equate that to trauma? This is what my parents went through. This is inside of you. This is why you shouldn't do the things that other people are doing, because it may trigger that inside you. But this is also, your grandfather was one of the smartest men I ever met. He came back from hell. Your grandmother did the same thing. This is why you may not want to try alcohol and drugs, because these things are triggered inside you. And then you could potentially suffer from these same illnesses. We don't want to do that. If I'm getting on your nerves, like I provoked my son to yell at me one time. His mom, you can't talk to him. I said, no. I provoked him to yell at me because he would never say when I was pissing him off. He yelled at me and said, hey, you feel better, don't you? He said, yeah. I said, that's what I've been asking you to do. You don't have to be in fear of me. You're going to respect me. But if I'm lying, if I'm wrong, you got the right to say, no, that's trash. I don't go with that. And we're going to have a conversation. We got to start doing this. And then we're going to protect, like I say every week, we're going to make the world better for our great-grandchildren's great-grandchildren. Y'all thought I was going to end the show without saying that? Every day. I'm saying it every time I come on air. We have to do these things. We have to, and then we have to teach self-defense. And we have to stop making basketball, football, and baseball the only way to get out there. Either you're slinging crack rock or you got a wicked jump shot. No. You can be the best mechanic. It's okay to be a mechanic. It's okay to drive a city bus. But you know what? You want to be the city bus supervisor. You want to own your own shop. It's okay to be a plumber. It's okay to be anything that you want, as long as you are the all-time greatest at that. Now, thank you for tapping in. Y'all already know I want you to do this. It's a few things I want you to do. The first thing I want you to do is this. Bang. Hit that like, hit that share, subscribe if you haven't. And then I want you to go to www.thaendofdabench.com, get my numbers up, make me shine. And I want to do this. I want to say thank you for tapping in. Share this link with everybody you know. Tell a friend and tell a friend. If you don't like what I said, tap in. If you do like what I said, tap in. Leave a comment. Shout out to Jungle Brother for tapping in. He always doing it. Everybody in the background who watching, thank you. And y'all already know I'm going to say 2 fingers, 1 word. My name is HRap.
And it is necessary for those people who rule over us and who rule over African people the world over, if those people are to stay in power, they must destroy our ability to love each other in a healthy sort of way. This is why